When you're one of the most powerful people in the world, you can afford some pretty lavish accommodations, especially when it comes to your final resting place. Here are the strangest things royals were buried with. So, let's get started. Qin Shi Huang, China. The first emperor of China was entombed alongside an army of over 8,000 life-size soldiers, horses, and chariots. It took 7,000 laborers nearly 4 decades to complete the terracotta army. Each figure was individually crafted, and no two faces are alike. Some wore military uniforms, while others were helmeted and ready for battle. The sheer scale of this mausoleum is awe-inspiring, and it remains one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the 20th century. Pharaoh Tutankhamun, Egypt. When the boy king Tutankhamun died at age 9, he was laid to rest in the Valley of the Kings. The young pharaoh was buried with an array of treasures fit for an ancient Egyptian ruler. Among them, a small dagger made from a meteorite. This unusual weapon symbolizes Tutankhamun's connection to the divine and his ability to ward off evil spirits in the afterlife. But it was another object in his tomb that has become an enduring symbol of his reign, a pair of golden sandals. These exquisite pieces of footwear offer a glimpse into the wealth and extravagance of the Egyptian royal court. Food was also provided for the journey to the afterlife. Viking kings, Europe. When a Viking king died, he would often be laid to rest in a grand ceremony filled with feasts, drinking, and even human sacrifice. The deceased monarch would be buried with his entire longships, weapons, and sometimes even animals like dogs or horses. The ship would be loaded with treasure, then set on fire so that the king could sail to Valhalla in style. One of the most famous Viking burials was that of King Olaf X of Norway, who died in 1000 AD. He was laid to rest in a magnificent ship burial at the Royal Cemetery of Oseberg. His tomb contained a wealth of artifacts, including weapons, armor, textiles, and even a wooden horse. Emperor Hadrian, Rome. When the Roman Emperor Hadrian passed away in 138 AD, his ashes were brought back to Rome and interred in a mausoleum that would become known as the Castel Sant'Angelo, built by Hadrian himself. The structure was originally intended as a fortress-like residence for his family, but after his death, it was transformed into a tomb. The massive proportions of the building are still impressive today, and it serves as a reminder of the grandeur of the Roman Empire. Queen Pwabi, Mesopotamia. Queen Pwabi, who reigned in Mesopotamia around 2500 BC, was a member of the Sumerian royal family. When she died, she was laid to rest in a magnificent tomb, filled with treasures that may have been acquired through more sinister means. Recent excavations have revealed that at least 40 people may have been sacrificed and buried with her, including members of her court, servants, and possibly even her son. The discovery suggests that the queen's burial was part of a broader ritual that involved the sacrifice of a large number of people. Emperor Imi, Japan. According to legend, Emperor Imi, the first emperor of Japan, was buried with a number of regalia that bestowed upon him divine status. These included a 15-pronged sword, a jewel called the Yata no Kagami, and a set of 15 seals. These objects were said to have been gifts from the gods and symbolized Jimmu's divine right to rule. The exact location of his burial remains unknown, adding to the mystique surrounding this legendary figure. The Mongol Khans, Asia. The Mongol Khans, including the infamous Genghis Khan, are said to have been buried in secret tombs to prevent their resting places from being desecrated. The burial rituals often involve the murder of all witnesses to ensure secrecy. The grave of Genghis Khan is rumored to be hidden in a remote location in Mongolia, and only a handful of people know its exact whereabouts. Another great Mongol leader, Kublai Khan, founder of the Yuan dynasty, was also given a lavish burial, which may have included some of his favorite concubines. It's believed that they were killed and buried alive with him, showcasing the lengths to which the Mongols went to honor their dead. Alexander the Great, Greece. The tomb of Alexander the Great has remained a mystery for centuries. Despite numerous attempts to locate it, no one knows exactly where the great conqueror was buried. However, historical accounts suggest that he was laid to rest in a magnificent golden sarcophagus filled with honey. The purpose of encasing him in honey was to preserve his body and prevent it from decaying. It was believed that this would ensure his body would remain intact until his eventual resurrection. Queen Hatshepsut, Egypt. The female pharaoh Hatshepsut cleverly concealed her own burial to avoid rival pharaohs who might want to desecrate her tomb. She carefully hid her burial site, and it wasn't discovered until modern times. During her reign, she commissioned many building projects, including a mortuary temple at Deir el-Bahari. Inside, she lavished herself with luxury oils and perfumes, some containing ingredients from as far away as the Arabian Peninsula. She also had a false beard, a symbol of male authority in ancient Egypt, which may have been used during religious ceremonies. Emperor Nero, Rome, the last of the Julio-Claudian dynasty of Roman emperors. Nero was a controversial figure who was ultimately forced to take his own life in 68 AD. Legend has it that he was buried in a tomb near the Roman Forum, but not before being fitted with a cursed amulet. That would bring doom to all who followed. The curse is said to have been placed on the amulet by a slave girl whose brother was executed by Nero, ensuring that the emperor's own demise would be equally tragic. Scythian chieftains, Asia. The Scythians were a nomadic people who lived in the steppes of Central Asia from the 7th century BC to the 3rd century AD. They were known for their equestrian skills and their elaborate burial rituals. The Scythians believed that the afterlife was an extension of life on Earth, and they prepared accordingly. Many chieftains were buried with horses, gold, jewelry, weapons, and other goods to ensure they would have everything they needed in the afterlife. Chinese Han emperors. China, during the Han Dynasty, which lasted from 206 BC to 220 AD, Chinese emperors were entombed in elaborate mausoleums that often featured terracotta figures. The practice of creating life-size sculptures of humans and animals to accompany the deceased in the afterlife had already begun in the 3rd century BC with the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang. However, it was during the Han Dynasty that this practice reached new heights. The tomb of Emperor Jing of Han, for example, was discovered in 1968 and found to contain a huge underground labyrinth of corridors and chambers, decorated with vibrant murals. The emperor was buried in a jade burial suit that was sewn together with gold thread, while his wife was entombed in a suit made entirely of jade. Lady Fu Hao, China. General and queen of the Shang Dynasty, Lady Fu Hao was an important figure in Chinese history. She held a prominent position in the royal court and was known for her intelligence and political acumen. According to historical records, she was buried with over 100 weapons, including swords, spears, and arrows. These weapons symbolize her role as a warrior queen and her ability to protect her kingdom. Additionally, she had 16 sacrificed slaves buried with her, suggesting that human sacrifice was still prevalent in Chinese society at the time. Anglo-Saxon kings. England. During the Anglo-Saxon period in England, which lasted from the 5th to the 11th century, the practice of burying royalty in ships was common. One of the most famous examples of this is the burial of King Redwald at Sutton, who in the 7th century, archaeologists discovered a magnificent ship burial containing a wealth of treasures, including gear, helmets, and feasting tools. The ship itself was over 100 feet long and was laden with goods and ornaments. Another notable example is the burial of King Swithin at Winchester in the 9th century. His tomb was discovered in 1953 and was found to contain a richly decorated coffin and a variety of treasures, including jewelry, weapons, and a ceremonial standard. Incan nobility. South America. During the Inca Empire, members of the nobility were often mummified and buried with live llamas, textiles, ceramics, and food. For example, the tomb of the Inca ruler Pachacati, who reigned from 1438 to 1471, was discovered in the 1950s and was found to contain a variety of treasures, including gold and silver items, textiles, and even a living llama. Similarly, the tomb of the Inca ruler, Huayna Capac, who reigned from 1493 to 1527, was discovered in the 1960s and was found to contain a wealth of artifacts, including jewelry, weapons, and textiles. The Inca believed that the mummies of their dead ancestors could provide them with protection and guidance in the afterlife, which is why they were often buried with them. Catherine the Great. Russia. When Catherine the Great, the Russian empress who reigned from 1762 to 1796, died, she left behind a legacy of extravagance and opulence. Her lavish tomb in the St. Petersburg Cathedral is a testament to her opulent lifestyle. Inside, her remains were placed in an elaborate silk-lined coffin adorned with imperial jewels. The coffin was then lowered into a marble vault, where it rests to this day. Catherine's tomb is one of the most spectacular examples of neoclassical architecture in Russia, and it stands as a reminder of her enduring legacy. Amosnefertari, Egypt, the first great queen of Egypt. Amosnefertari played a crucial role in helping Egypt gain independence from the Hyksos. She was a powerful and influential figure who was deeply involved in religious affairs. When she died, she was buried with a number of offerings, including divine sphinxes, statues of gods and goddesses, and protective spells etched in stone. Her tomb was discovered in 1940 and was found to contain a wealth of treasures, including jewelry, cosmetics, and perfume. Nubian kings. Sudan. The Nubian kings who ruled over the kingdom of Kush from 250 BC to 350 AD were buried in pyramids that were smaller than those of the Egyptians, but no less impressive. Unlike the Egyptians, the Nubians did not believe in an elaborate underworld. Instead, they viewed death as a peaceful transition to a better life. As such, they buried their kings with treasure and sacred texts that would guide them in the afterlife. Mayan royalty. Central America. During the classic Maya period, which lasted from 250 to 900 AD, the Maya built some of the most impressive pyramids in the world, and it was common for royalty to be buried beneath these structures. The tombs often contained valuable artifacts such as jade masks and jewelry. In addition, the Maya believed that the hallucinogenic seeds of the morning glory flower could help the dead ascend to the heavens, so they were often buried with these seeds. Emperor Zhongzhou of Joseon, Korea. the tomb of Emperor Jongjo of Joseon in Korea, is a remarkable example of how royalty was buried with objects that reflected their beliefs and values. The emperor, who reigned from 1776 to 1800, was a great patron of the arts and sciences, and his tomb is filled with artifacts that showcase his intellectual pursuits. Meticulously arranged Confucian texts line the walls, while symbols of scholarly virtue sit atop the stone chamber. Rare ceremonial garments, including a nine-dragon robe, are on display, offering a glimpse into the opulence of the Joseon dynasty. The attention to detail and symbolism in the tomb reflects the belief that wisdom should accompany power even in the afterlife. Thanks a ton for watching. If you enjoyed this, smash that like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Your support means the world and helps us create more awesome content.